Hey, what is going on, guys? Today I'll be giving you guys a Pokemon deck profile on the 2014 World Championship winning deck, which was a Trevenant Accelgor deck. Now, do keep in mind, with this being 2014, this is a deck that is no longer legal in Pokemon's standard format. They run very similarly to Magic, to where they go off of the 8 most recent sets for their standard play. So this one would be one that is rotated out of that set. But I figured I'd show it to you guys since I did pick up this deck a while ago. It was a replica version of the deck, as you can probably tell there by the signature from the actual player who won with this deck right there. So it's not one you can use legally in any kind of tournament play, but it's still cool to have for playtesting. And especially if you're a person that is looking to get into the game of Pokemon, but doesn't really have a lot of experience or knowledge on it, it's definitely good to pick up one of these championship decks, just so you get experience with playing with a more competitive, more strategic deck, to kind of see how the competitive scene works in Pokemon. And with this one, back in 2014 when it won, it was actually a very budget-friendly deck. And Pokemon itself, the game itself, is relatively budget-friendly, since you really only, for the most part, have to worry about your 60-card main deck and don't have to worry about an extra deck for the most part, like you do in Yu-Gi-Oh! So starting off with the Pokemon, we have the free Shelmet and the free Accelgor. Of course, you use Accelgor for its deck and cover attack, which requires 2 colorless energy and does 50 damage. It makes a defending Pokemon poison and paralyzed, and then Accelgor shuffles itself along with all cards attached to it back into the deck. So that's any energies that are attached to it, any Pokemon tools that are attached to it, all get shuffled back into the deck to be able to be reused later in the game. And of course, with poisoning the Pokemon, it'll take 10 damage each turn, and then with it being paralyzed, it cannot retreat or attack during that next turn. So it's just really good for locking down the opponent's Pokemon. Then we have the 4 Phantump and the free Trevenant. Trevenant is your main combo with Accelgor that you want to pull off with its deck and cover attack. So basically you use that deck and cover and then switch out into Trevenant. And Trevenant's ability of Forest Curse prevents your opponent from using any item cards while it is your active Pokemon. So that can really restrict your opponent's plays when they can't attack with their Pokemon and they also can't use any item cards, which is basically the majority of most competitive Pokemon decks. Then we have the 2 Duskull, the 2 Dusclops, and the 2 Dusknoir. Dusknoir is basically your game-ending card, and basically the way that you're able to ensure that you have a lockdown with Trevenant and Accelgor and not just kill your opponent's Pokemon, allow them to switch out into a Pokemon that's able to attack. Because with its ability of Sinister's Hand, basically as often as you like, you can move around damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. So like say if they have 100 damage counters total on their active and bench Pokemon, you can move those around any way you like to where you're not killing off their active Pokemon until you want to. And then when you build up enough total damage counters to be able to go for game, you can just move damage counters around to whatever Pokemon you want to be able to knock them out, get prize cards, get all of your prize cards and be able to win the game. It's especially good if you're going against an EX deck, because if you knock out an EX Pokemon, you get 2 prize cards, 2 for the price of 1, so you essentially can just knock out free Pokemon if they have free EXs and win the game in 1 turn off of that. Then for the final Pokemon, we have the 2 Mew. Mew is really good because it basically acts as a 4th and 5th Accelgor with its ability of Versatile. It allows it to use any attack from any other Pokemon on the field, but of course you still have to pay the same energy cost. So you basically use it to copy its deck and cover, use the 2 double colorless energy, and copy the attack. You can potentially use it on your opponent's attacks if they, say, have an attack that requires colorless energy, because do keep in mind, you'll see this later in deck profile, that really in this deck you're only running the colorless energy, so that doesn't really come up too often, but it is something that you can also do if your opponent does have a certain attack that you can use with Mew. So that is it for the Pokemon, total of 21. Now on to the item cards. So starting off, we have the 4 Level Ball, which just lets you search any Pokemon of 90 HP or less from your deck for free. So that's anything outside of Mew, Dusknoir, and Trevenant. Then we have the free Evo Soda. Obviously, we have the 3 different evolution chains in here that are all very important to the deck's core strategy. So Evo Soda is really good because you can just evolve Pokemon, using a Pokemon from your deck, and just continue the evolution chain there and build up your strategy. So Evo Soda is really good for that. Then we have the 2 Pokemon Catcher. It used to be with this card where you didn't actually have to flip the coin, and it automatically switched out one of your opponent's active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. But they did errata it and give it the flip a coin aspect because it was a bit too powerful, considering that with it being an item card, you can use it as many times per turn as you want, so it was a bit overpowered to be able to do that multiple times per turn. So now the equivalent of the old Pokemon catcher is a supporter card called Lysander, but with it being a supporter card, you of course can only use it once per turn, so that is why they kind of nerfed the Pokemon catcher in its old effect. Then we have the 2 Starling Megaphone. This of course knocks off any Pokemon tools that your opponent has on any of their Pokemon, and Pokemon tools are something that's always going to be really big in a competitive game, so Starling Megaphone is obviously good to have for that. It also just makes sure that any kind of Pokemon tool that will prevent you from doing what you need to do with your strategy can just be easily knocked off. Then we have the 2 Ultra Ball. Lets you discard any 2 cards from your hand to add any Pokemon from your deck to your hand. So you're typically using this to get your higher HP guys, since you can already get your lower HP guys with Level Ball. Then we have the 1 Sacred Ash, which lets us recycle any 5 Pokemon from our discard pile, shuffle them back into the deck. So it's really useful mid to late game to just recover our resources and still be able to continue going with our strategy. And then we have the 1 Town Map, which of course allows you to look at all your prize cards to see what ones you want to grab and also see what you're missing from your own deck. So now for the Pokemon tools, we have the 4 Floatstone, which basically gives any Pokemon that's equipped to free retreat cost. This you're basically going to be using with your Trevenant to make sure that you can retreat it at will to be able to go into your Accelgor or your Mew for your deck and cover plays. Then we have the 2 Muscle Band, which you can equip onto Mew or onto Accelgor to make that deck and cover 70 damage instead of 50, which can be really powerful. Then for the Ace Spec, which you're only allowed 1 of in a deck, we have the 1 Computer Search. By discarding 2 cards, you can add any card from your deck to your hand. So it's just really useful because you can get anything, that be a supporter, a stadium card, a Pokemon card, an energy, whatever you need. Computer Search is just there to get anything you need to get your plays going. Then we have for our stadium the 2 Tropical Beach. This is basically like a field spell in Yu-Gi-Oh! That affects both players. So on that player's turn, they can choose to draw until they have 7 cards, but it does effectively end their turn. And do keep in mind with Pokemon that they make the so-called battle phase, or the time that you would attack, the last part of your turn. So if you do choose to attack with a Pokemon, it does immediately end your turn afterwards. So basically with Tropical Beach, if you do activate its effect, you're not able to attack in that same turn, which isn't a huge problem for this deck because you do usually take up a lot of turns to try to build up your strategy, so Tropical Beach is pretty good just for being able to accumulate some cards on those free turns. Then for supporters, we have the 4 Professor Juniper. Just simply discard your hand and draw 7 cards. There's always been a card like this in the sets as they progress along the generations of Pokemon. This is the newest one, at least from 2014. I think Sycamore. Yeah, I think Sycamore is the one from 6th generation. But yeah, they always have a card like this where it's discard and draw 7. So yeah, and you play the maximum of it because it's just so good. Then we have the 4N. Makes both players shuffle their hands into their deck and then draw a number of cards equal to their prize cards. So obviously it can be really good for minusing your opponent when you're ahead on prize cards. And it also can be good for disrupting their strategy or just good for unbricking your hand in general. Then we have the 2 Skyla, which is the supporter card that lets us add any other trainer card from our deck to our hand, which can be very useful. Then for the final supporter and trainer card, we have the 1 Corliss. This shuffles our own hand back into the deck, and then we draw cards equal to the number of bench Pokemon on both players' side. So of course each player can have up to 5 bench Pokemon, which means that you can draw a maximum of 10 cards off of this Corliss if both benches are full, which is really, really powerful. So that was a total of 35 trainer cards. Then for the energies, we just have the 4 double colorless energy. The only attack you're actually using in this deck is the deck and cover with the 2 Mews and the 3 Accelgors, and you only need a double colorless energy for that attack, so that's why we only played those. Do keep in mind with special energies, they are restricted to only 4 ofs, just like the Pokemon and trainer cards, but if you were playing basic energies, you of course can have as many of those as you want. But yeah, the 4 special energies is really all you need. And then considering that you shuffle them right back in, when you use the deck and cover attack and you have so much draw and search power to the deck, it's pretty easy to see these when you need them. So that is it for the deck profile on the 2014 World Championship Accelgor Trevenant deck profile. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, when it comes to advertisements, don't skip it. Just click it. And definitely be looking out for a update on my Magic the Gathering deck profile here soon. I actually am planning on going to a standard tournament tonight and seeing how I do with it in my first Magic tournament, since a lot of the cards in my deck are about to be falling out of rotation and standard with the new set coming out. So I figured I'd go ahead and give it a try and see how I do. So definitely be looking forward to that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.